Welcome to the Headlines. I'm Helen Liao. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's show, Tzu Chi volunteers and TIMA doctors hold a free clinic in Haiti to help a total of 750 people. In France, we go to Tzu Chi's first office in Europe and take a look at how it strives to inspire more people to walk the Tzu Chi path. And we investigate Taiwan's Basic Environment Act and see if it really works to protect our environment. We kick off the show in Haiti at one of the schools Tzu Chi helped rebuild. Haitian TIMA members held their second free clinic on May 18th local time to serve a total of 750 patients. In addition to the 22 local doctors, members of the U.S. TIMA also arrived to take part.
As healthcare resources are scarce in Haiti, patients are already lining up outside the school building early in the morning.
How many people come today?
750 patients.
So you are busy today, huh?
Yes, very busy.
At the second free clinic held by Tzu Chi in Haiti, residents happily chant Buddhist scriptures and sing their prayers while waiting for the opportunity to receive medical treatment.
Tzu Chi volunteers organized this free clinic inside a newly opened school. This marked an important step forward for the U.S. Tzu Chi medical mission.
Besides the 22 local doctors, a Chinese medicine doctor from U.S. TIMA is also on site to provide his service. A 61-year-old senior who suffered a stroke 7 years ago arrives in hopes of improving her quality of life.
She delayed her treatment too long. I won't give up. I will still try to help her.
Unwilling to give up, with help from the doctor, the elderly woman is able to move her left hand slowly.
Thank you, sweetie. Good luck.
An orphanage which has been established in Haiti for 6 decades has always lacked funding. Upon learning of Tzu Chi's free clinics, Sister Hernande Javapena brings 15 students over to receive medical treatment.
Some of these children have tuberculosis, so she is following up on their condition and ensuring that they take their medication. Today, one of the kids is suffering from asthma, so the sister wondered if traditional Chinese medicine will help.
After some assessments, Tzu Chi decides to take these children under its wing, and local media reporters are on site to capture this special moment. Overseas Tzu Chi volunteers who have come to assist their counterparts are deeply moved as well.
I must share what I've seen and learned here with many others.
U.S. TIMA member Dr. Chen Fu-ming donates surgical textbooks and simulation exercise equipment in hopes of helping Haiti escape poverty in the long run.
In Australia, a tropical cyclone hit the state of Queensland in late January, causing massive flooding in the city of Bundaberg. Knowing that many flood victims still face difficulties in rebuilding their homes, Brisbane Tzu Chi volunteers returned to the disaster site to provide assistance and propose a relief work program.
Passing over this bridge, Tzu Chi volunteers arrived in the city of Bundaberg once again.
That line? Yeah. That's how high the water was. Wow, nice. That's the water line.
Speaking of the floods caused by the tropical cyclone in late January, many disaster victims are still terrified. Many houses were damaged severely and repairs were extremely costly.
It cost us $1,400 just to reconnect the power.
Tzu Chi volunteers therefore proposed relief work program as a possible solution.
Instead of hiring someone, you've got seem like a very capable young man. Get this all out and get this done. Instead of paying someone else, the reward goes to Aaron.
After a long trip from Brisbane, Tzu Chi volunteers arrive on scene to hand out blankets and cash cards. Such a kind gesture touches many local residents in the town.
I don't know whether Patrick ever got the article from one of my parents. It was in the news mail. And it's that care and compassion and that reaching out for others.
The councillor of Bundaberg also expresses his heartfelt gratitude to Tzu Chi.
We really do from our heart appreciate everything you've done for our community. So please take that back. Take it back to your comrades, take it back to your master, take it back to Taiwan, wherever you want. Tell anyone in the world just how grateful we are for what you've done for us. It's really special. So thank you. Thank you.
Though the disaster is merciless, it brings Tzu Chi volunteers and those in need together and creates good affinities that will spread far and wide.
In China, it has been a month since the Yan earthquake devastated Sichuan province, and the Chinese government has established plans to help quake survivors move out of tents and start a new page of their lives. In our next report, let's take a look at the current living conditions of quake survivors still living in the designated tent areas.
I took out 3 buckets full of rainwater. That's the bucket. 3 buckets full. It has been raining a lot and these clothes are used to keep the water out.
The bad weather brings bad news to these quake survivors as their tents are waterlogged, but the only thing they can do is try to keep the water out.
When it rains, water will leak into these tents. As you can see, there is water everywhere inside this one. In fact, the material used for these tents is not 100% waterproof. When I touch it, it feels damp, which means that the living conditions of these residents is not so great.
Right here lives hundreds of people, and there are only a few faucets for the quake survivors to use. It is also not very convenient to use the washroom or take a shower.
是。会走很远吗？就在这里啊，但是进去觉得好难闻哦。
那你们洗澡怎么办？
没有洗呀。
几天没洗了
？3天了，好像是。
After the Yan earthquake, for these quake survivors, it has been a constant tug of war between tolerance and stress. Some local residents find it hard to move on because the tragedy and fear still cast a shadow over them.
Sometimes when something is moving, I will freak out. I don't know if I should hold on to the side of my bed or pull my husband.
My grandson was very frightened. Now whenever he sees a damaged house, he will say to me, "It's an earthquake, run."
It has been a month since the Yan earthquake, and the Chinese government notices that the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder are starting to appear in these quake survivors. To help, the government has sent counseling teams to the disaster zone.
After all the relief work, right now we have switched our focus to counseling, because it is also very important for these quake survivors to heal physically and mentally. Our team will go to different communities and villages to gain an understanding of their needs.
Currently, counseling services are available in 24 schools in Lushan County. Now these quake survivors have places to express their fear, worries, and sorrows. This is 11-year-old Xing Yue, who lives with her grandmother in one of the designated tent areas. Since the tremor, she has used colorful markers to draw her wishes.
First, I want to draw a house. The house will be very sturdy and capable of resisting any level of earthquake without suffering any damages.
The drawing of an earthquake-resistant house expresses the fear and sorrow that Xing Yue endured during the strong quake. In fact, a safe place to call home is something that many quake survivors desperately need. With the establishment of Tzu Chi's first office in Europe, the office will not only be a sanctuary for Tzu Chi volunteers, but also a cultivation ground to gather more like-minded individuals. This grand opening marks a new beginning for other European Tzu Chi volunteers.
1, 2, 3.
As the red banner is pulled down, the feeling of nervousness dissipates as Tzu Chi volunteers celebrate their dreams come true with applause. This is the grand opening of the first Tzu Chi office in Europe, marking a brand new beginning for the Buddhist NGO on the continent. France is known as the heart of Europe. With Tzu Chi volunteers establishing roots here, Tzu Chi's humanity enters the Arc de Triomphe and shall propagate throughout Europe. The office is located inside Paris's 13th arrondissement, where there is a large Chinese population.
Stepping off from the metro station, we arrive at Paris' 13th arrondissement. This is the Boulevard des Italiens, which will lead us to Tzu Chi's office.
Exiting from the metro station, the boulevard is on one side, while storefronts on the other. The sun is shining, trees line the road, and flocks of pigeons surround the area. This is typical French scenery. Making a left here, 330 steps away, is the final destination.
After a 4-minute walk, we can see the Tzu Chi and Jinsi bookstore logo. Also, Jinsi aphorisms and Chinese writing can be seen. This is Tzu Chi Foundation's first home in Europe.
As you step inside, the European ambiance fades away as Tzu Chi's humanistic decorations come into view. The furnishings are all part of Tzu Chi's style. A juxtaposition of Western and Tzu Chi culture seems natural in this setting. Further down the street from the office is Paris's Chinatown, which seems to be an ideal place to inspire more bodhisattvas. The spiritual home seems to take on many different roles and meanings.
Previously in Europe, we did not have a spiritual home. Gatherings were always held at a Tzu Chi volunteer's home. Now that we have our own place, our own shelter, it marks a new beginning for us. Everyone will be able to gather here and find spiritual refuge.
Serving as a spiritual refuge and a cultivation ground, this is where Tzu Chi volunteers can gather their strength. This office is the first and will help with the establishment of many offices to follow. Volunteers from different countries gather here to recharge themselves as they have their work laid out ahead of them.
We are ready!
France is the 5th largest economy in the world, and its capital, Paris, is the world's center of fine arts, fashion, and culture. Because of the European debt crisis, the country is battling the highest unemployment in 13 years. Therefore, it makes us wonder whether living in Paris is no longer peaches and cream.
We're here at the world-renowned Avenue des Champs-Élysées in Paris. Filled with luxury specialty shops, the street is a mecca for tourists and shoppers all over the world. All the revenue generated here, however, cannot help France elude the ravages of the European debt crisis or make a dent in Paris' unemployment rate, currently at a 13-year high.
Le chômage en France est un réel problème.
Unemployment is quite a serious problem here in France. Many factories have closed down and many businesses have moved abroad. How to restore young people's hope for a better future is a big question that we need to confront.
Le problème, effectivement, est à l'origine de pas mal de problèmes économiques que rencontre la France aujourd'hui.
Among the country's population of some 60 million, over 4 million are unemployed, which means on average, among every 15 people, one does not hold a job. And typically, that person is a young adult. The country's welfare program takes care of the unemployed by giving them unemployment benefit equivalent to 70% of their previous salary. Most of the unemployed, therefore, have no incentive or pressure to find a new job. But this has sent the French government into the vicious spiral of debt.
Les Français, heureusement, se préoccupent de ce problème depuis un certain nombre d'années.
The French government has long been concerned about the unemployment problem and the high unemployment rate. We have established a series of measures, including job placement and job training, to solve the problem.
Aujourd'hui, vont être capables d'aider les gens à relever les défis qui arrivent dans ce 21e siècle.
Though a set of new job skills may help fight unemployment, walking down the streets of Paris, we can still see many people enjoying their time in boutiques and cafes on working days. Can such a phenomenon be simply explained by the Europeans' laid-back way of life? Romantic is a word often used to describe the French, but what we are about to see is not so romantic. In France, demonstrations like this occur regularly, as this is how citizens voice their demands. On International Workers' Day, citizens are demanding better benefits. Yet, in the eyes of the less wealthy countries, France is rich and its people are living in paradise. At what point do people need to stop, count their blessings, and realize that perhaps they are contributing to the European debt crisis?
Taiwan passed the Basic Environment Act 10 years ago to help protect the country's beautiful natural resources from abuse by humans. Article 28, which states that the government will seek monetary compensations from those who cause pollution to help restore the environment, help the country cope with a series of oil spills that happened later. But many say that Article 3, which gives environmental protection priority over development, and Article 17, intended to preserve indigenous culture and people, were overlooked when Taidong's Miramar Resort Build, Operate, Transfer project was commissioned. Where does the country really stand on environmental protection 10 years later? Here's more.
That incident was a turning point for the country in terms of how we deal with oil spills. At the time, we didn't even know how to use containment booms. We just threw them into the sea. That was because we had no experience. Since then, we have begun taking steps to protect our sea from pollution. People were trained and equipment was purchased. The government also passed laws that will go after those who cause pollutions and spills and make them pay financially. I think that since the incident, whether in response time or in following protocols, Taiwan has made great strides in dealing with oil spills.
We hope to permanently preserve this land. Our goal is long-term protection, never short-term. On this anti-Guoguang petrochemical plant case, we have really rallied many people's support. In fact, the whole country mobilized. It took a lot of resources to stop this development project.
It looks like Guoguang Petrochemical has given up plans to develop this area, but we're still worried about this large area of wetlands that occupies southern Zhanghua and the northern shore at the mouth of the Zhuosui River. It is the largest wetland remaining in Taiwan by the mouth of a river. If it is misused and destroyed, then the unique mudflats ecosystem will be lost.
Miramar Resort is a new development on Haiti's Sanyuan Beach, which is one of the few sandy beaches in the county. Typically, areas like this become easy targets for resorts developers who want exclusive access to the beach. So this developer went to Taidong County government, and the result is this BOT project, for which no environmental impact assessment was conducted. I think this is a symbolic case, as it tells us that environmental laws are for reference only. Even as indigenous cultures disappear, nothing is being done.
Taiwan's Basic Environment Act has been in force for 10 years now. Though it is titled Basic Environment Act, it only regulates government policies to the lowest standards. The government still focuses on economic development first. This resort is just the first of its kind along the eastern seaboard.
Monday, May 20th, marked the first anniversary of the Ya'an earthquake in China, and 14 years ago, Taiwan was devastated by the 9.21 tremor. The earthquake also made many areas prone to landslides and sparked concerns in the architectural design, scientific, and disaster prevention sectors, urging engineers and scientists to re-evaluate their regulations and activities. In our next report, let's find out what Taiwan has learned from the painful experience of the 1999 disaster.
On September 21, 1999, an earthquake led to the loss of more than 2,400 lives in Taiwan, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in the history of our nation. The tremor changed the lives of those who survived and also changed things at the country's Earthquake Research Center. The National Center for Research on Earthquake Engineering used the abandoned schools in the disaster areas for experiments.
We realized that structure-wise, we need to particularly focus on school buildings as well as those residential shops, as a large amount of it collapsed in the tremor. In fact, we learned a valuable lesson.
The earthquake not only gave rise to a new construction method and material, but also facilitated a re-evaluation of the nation's approach to seismic design.
It expanded here and then shrunk back again. We continue to look back to that crack when we do our experiments to understand the exact force of the disaster. It is really useful to us. Our reinforced concrete allows us to construct buildings with a maximum of 20 to 30 stories, but in Japan they have developed a high-quality material which allows them to build 60 stories high. We don't necessarily need to do that in Taiwan, but if we constructed taller buildings, we could have more green areas.
Seismic isolation design was implemented on the second floor of a research building at the National Taiwan University, which uses isolation bearings in all of its pillars.
Quake prevention structures are more expensive because of the pipeline system. When it shakes, these softer pipes are flexible and will not break, but the hard ones will break immediately.
9.1地震之后，给工程师很大的一个冲击。
The 9.1 earthquake had a great impact on all the engineers. Before, we only talked about whether the structure could withstand the tremors. But now we have to turn the structure into something that can prevent tragedies.
做体检的工作。
Since the devastating 9.1 quake, experts from the engineering field have turned their focus to outdoors.
9.21地震发生之前，很多山都是
Before the 9.1 quake, the mountains and rivers were in perfect shape. But after the tremor, because the fault moved, leading to an earthquake, whenever there's heavy rain, there will be mudslides.
Through regular and spontaneous checks, we are able to confirm any changes to these areas prone to landslides, and in turn minimize the damage brought by disasters.
Taiwan now realized earthquakes trigger complex disasters. The advancement in technology produces accurate data, which are then used to assess the risks of certain geographical areas.
所以他们比较详细，应该是社区的基础资料比较细。
在现在目前在规划一个。
Nowadays, when planning a construction, we take nature into consideration. We are faced by many external challenges, so what we need to look into is a comprehensive quake prevention method.
A comprehensive disaster prevention plan requires a change of perspective from members of the public, as well as new government strategies, all of which may still take some time to fall into place.
We go to Canada at the end of the show. Mississauga Tzu Chi volunteers held a Buddha Day ceremony at a nursing home to give senior residents a chance to pay respect to the Buddha. On the other hand, their counterpart in Ottawa also held a similar event at their local Tzu Chi Academy. We will leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.